Good afternoon, folks. Sean Miles from Platepus Global Consulting. What I want to talk to you a little bit about today is business systemization. And now, typically in organizations, everybody has a policy and procedure manual and a few rules and so forth that are kind of scratched out from the outset. But what we find in the majority of organizations is there's very little as far as clear guidelines when it comes to how things are supposed to be done, what kind of parameters people might have, and all that kind of good stuff that really makes the consistency required to be profitable and to have a successful business. Of course, on one hand of the continuum, there's organizations that have all kinds of processes that are typically larger because they need that to make sure that they move forward smoothly. And you can't make a different decision every single time. So you'll see that in large organizations, maybe hospitals, municipalities, and all that kind of good stuff. That's not to say that they can't be tweaked and changed and adjusted all the time because there's so many. But on the other side of the continuum, you've got the small business that has next to no process and procedure documented. And seeing as how there's the majority of businesses out there in Canada and the United States are small businesses, small and medium-sized enterprises, and this is a really good tool for most organizations out there. And what it basically in essence does is it creates the framework for people to follow. And what that does is it provides increased communication. It provides increased motivation because people know when they've done a job well. They see the parameters, they've met them. Geez, I've really done a good job today. I feel satisfied and happy. And what we find is when people don't have these types of procedures or systems in place, people are randomly making decisions on their own. And a lot of the intellectual capital and horsepower that's in the organization is stuck in people's heads. So if a key person leaves the organization has to start from scratch. And one of the primary objectives of the business is to be able for it to be set up to run on its own. Business owners, managers, the biggest compliment for a manager or a business owner is for them to be able to step aside and for the organization to be able to run its own, for them to leave for 2 weeks and it not miss a beat. So that should be everybody's ideal goal, is to be able to set the business up so it can run on its own, no matter if you're in your own organization or whether it's a not-for-profit or whatever that might be. So there's 4 key basic premises that are involved in business systemization, and there's all different types of theories and different ideologies on that stuff, but basically the one that we use is you divide your organization simply up into 4 categories. So what those 4 categories are doing the business. So that would be executing everything you do to deliver on your client promises. So that would be delivery. It would be running the business. So that's all the administrative stuff. So everything from doing some hiring to doing payroll, all that kind of good stuff. The next thing is getting the business. And getting the business is just typically sales and marketing, everything that happens in advance of you getting a commitment to deliver on your promises and deliverables in the doing the business. And then we've got guiding the business. So that's everything to do with management, strategy, everything to do that helps move the business forward on a big picture level. So we've got doing the business, which is delivery and execution, running, which is administration, getting, which is marketing and promo, and we've got guiding, which is strategy and leadership type of stuff. Now, what we need to do, because businesses are so complex, there's so many moving parts, is part of the real beauty of this is it really simplifies the organization moving forward. And if you start thinking in these terms of everything you do in your business and you start kind of classifying them, it helps you kind of make that mental chunk in your head so you can kind of move them around and kind of understand, so it's not quite as complex. So once we've divided into 4 categories, and we're trying to systemize the business, the first step we do is we start listing everything that's required to fulfill these 4 categories or inside these 4 categories. So for running the business, we might start listing payroll. We might list hiring. We might list garbage removal, maintenance. So all the list of absolutely everything that needs to be done in admin. And it's not expected that all this list is going to be made right at once. These things can be developed over time and recorded over time. But what we essentially want to do is just list every single thing there is as far as running the business, from the most large task to the smallest task there is. And that's all you need to do to start with. And the same with delivery. So what do we need to do to deliver our products? Do we need to do a proposal, a presentation? And what actually is your business? What are you delivering? And list every single thing you need to do. Do you need to set up the project management software? So everything you need to do to deliver what your product or service is. Then when it gets to getting the business, we list everything we need to do to get the business. And this is more on the proposal side. Maybe it's advertising. Maybe it's social media. Maybe it's community speeches. And the whole list of things that you currently do, or maybe you intend to do over the next little while to get more business for your organization. So you got this huge comprehensive brainstormed list. And then guiding the business as well. You might, what's the strategy moving forward? What's the leadership team? How are they comprised? And all that kind of good stuff there as far as guiding. So again, doing, running, getting, and guiding, right? Four simple categories. So the first step is to brainstorm like crazy. And what you can do with this stuff is you can just put up a poster, put it in the staff room or wherever in your office. And as you start thinking of things, just start recording them over the course of a couple of weeks. Because you'll think of things you didn't think of before, and you'll have a light bulb go off in your head. But after the course of that 2 or 3 weeks, hopefully, and even with some staff feedback, and let them fill it out too, is you'll have a comprehensive list of absolutely everything that needs to be done in the organization. So then, once you get that list and you've got it pretty much maximized, what you want to do is you want to prioritize. What are the top 3, 4, 5 priorities in each of these? So go through and pick priority 1, 2, 3. Just identify what those are for each of the categories. And you can also prioritize which of the categories is more important at that time as well. For example, if you're a startup company, you might want to think about focusing more on getting the business. You might want to think more about sales and doing that kind of stuff. So you might go straight to sales and just outline what those 3 or 4 things are and define them in detail and who's responsible for them. So now we've got a list, and we're starting to compile a list in each of the 4 categories, and we're starting to document how we want it done and what the outcomes are for that. And with that, once we start documenting each of the processes and each of the pieces of the systemization, what we need to do is we need to assign a certain person to each of these. And what that does, we don't assign a person, we assign a job description, or we assign a position to each of them. Because we want to make this generic so anybody can fill the position, because we don't want to create certain specific positions for one person's skill set from the beginning. So what we'll do is we'll say the CEO does this, operations does this, and we'll start creating a general set of job descriptions from this listing. So by the end, the CEO will have all their jobs. The operations guy will have all their jobs as well. And what that does is it creates accountability, so we can hold people accountable for it, but also on the same time, it also creates a situation where we have exhausted this comprehensively, and we can go through and make sure it's all documented and move forward for optimal organizational development. So in essence, super simple. 4 key areas of the organization to break it down in, and putting it back to job descriptions for accountability and starting to document. And on top of this, what you can do, you can do this on paper, and you can create a manual for this, or you can create some policies and procedures. This isn't something that happens overnight. But what you can also do is we've got a software for this in which you can upload it to all the software that really shoots it to the right people. It's you can manipulate, you can print off a manual for any position, job description, all that kind of good stuff. And what that does is once you've got this going, you've got it up and running, basically you've got your business systemized. And this is the first step to having a super efficient system for profitability, If you're moving to franchising, if you want more autonomy as far as the management team goes, and have some more things in particular order. So that's the basics of business systemization. If you need more information, you can visit us at platepus.com, Platepus.com. Thanks.